My name is Adebolas. I'm a wife, a mother, a sister, and the first daughter of my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Adelumola Olalusi. And guess what? I'm 50. What a journey. Speaking about the journey, that's why I'm here to tell you of my journey and my testimony. Growing up as a child, I've had the experience of being comfortable and the other way around, if you understand what I mean. My father was working at the Central Bank of Nigeria. He was at the Forex department, and he also had his side hustles, the way they call it now. He read French, so he had translations for companies, for individuals, and all that. We had freezers and fridges and filled up with all sorts. We had bags of foodstuffs. My mom actually had constant, people she constantly gave things to on a monthly basis. We were very comfortable, and all of a sudden, things changed. My father left the certain for the uncertain. He left CBN, and we had to actually make do sometime with taking gari and granuts. How do I explain gari to you? I think it's cassava flakes. In fact, I don't even know how to explain it. It's a kind of food that is not proper food. Some people take it as snacks sometimes, but having it as a proper main meal was not funny. It was really tough. After my WAEC, I was so sure I was going to be admitted at the University of Lagos. Then, University of Lagos, amongst us young people, was the main thing. It was, where we actually preferred to be. And then, I just found out that I was not enrolled. Despite my father's connections and friends, I just couldn't be enrolled. But I think it was divine, because I now found myself at the Federal College of Education, Kotongora in Niger State. It was like from school A to school D. That was how we perceived it at that time. But God was actually orchestrating everything, because that was where I gave my life to Christ. I became born again, and that was where I met my loving husband. After my NC, I worked for 2 years, but I had the hunger. I needed to go back for my degree. I wanted to go back to school. My parents couldn't really afford that, because my younger ones were still young. And my mom said, I have to take care of your younger ones with this, my little earnings. You already have something you can use to make earnings. So I thought to myself, what can I do? I said, okay, maybe I could work a permanent night's work. And I had two options, either an hotel or an hospital. And I said to myself, if I work in an hotel, as a child of God, the temptations will be high. So I had just one option, to work in an hospital. I went around after I got the admission, different hospitals at Ilorin at that time, and they kept telling me, oh, we don't do that, oh, we don't have space, until I got to Delny Clinics and Maternity Home, where I met Dr. Razak Jimo. And he looked at me after I said the same story I'd actually narrated in all the other places, and he said, young lady, you are beautiful. You have so many options of things you can do to keep your soul and body together as a student, but you have opted to look for a job. I don't need you. I don't really have space, but I'll give you that job. After school, I got married, and then the normal, everybody was expecting the tummy to protrude. First month, second month, third month, nothing. First year, second year, third year, till the 9th year. It was not funny. Apart from being an educationist, I was actually trained as a child evangelist in Kotongora then. I had Bible club teaching children the Word of God. Everywhere I'd lived, I was with children in the churches. I was in Sunday school department with children. And for me to now be married and not have my own for 9 years, it was a journey that was only God that saw us through. And eventually, God answered our prayers. We are blessed with a handsome young saxophonist by name David Oluwanifemi Toluwalashe Adebola. But before we had Oluwanifemi, something happened. Something very scary. It was actually very scary because it was the darkest moments of my life. I had an accident. I was on a bike and there was a collision and the bike fell. Both myself and the rider fell down. And the first thing that came to my mind was, get off the road so that oncoming vehicles will not knock you off and kill you. And I wanted to just get up. I realized that my legs were like this, shaking. It was at that point I knew my bones were broken. I quickly went back on my bum and used my bum to pull myself off the road. And then sympathizers came around and people were like, oh, let's take her. There's a traditional orthopedic hospital around. They took me there and my mom was like, what are you doing here? And that was how the journey began. For 3 good years, I was on crutches. I mean, 3 good years. I remember one of the periods that I went for a checkup, at the hospital, and I forgot my card and I was on crutches. I was asked to go given by a doctor to go to the archives, and the young lady looked at me and said, madam, if you have issues with your leg, do you also have issues with your brain that you could forget your card at home? I felt humiliated. Sometimes I would scream at people when they say sorry to me. I knew they meant well, but you know what it means? It was as if I was going into depression because I wasn't sure I could walk again. And they would say, I'm sorry. I say, please stop saying sorry to me. I'm not an handicap. There was a time people wanted to send things from the headquarters of where I work at, and they said, Mrs Adebolas, and somebody said, who is Mrs Adebolas? The one with crutches. You know what it meant? It now became my name. Eventually, we got to a point and I said, something must happen. We went to see a physiotherapist and myself and my husband sat and the man said, and there's no big deal. What you need to do, I'll give you a contact at Yaba and they will actually just make something on the shoe for the right leg, and then you still just be able to walk without the crutches or the walking stick or whatever. And I looked at my husband, he looked at me, and we started weeping. My husband said, I didn't marry you like this. You will walk again. And I took that word. I would sleep in my dream and I would say, you will walk again. I will walk again. It just kept ringing in my brain that I will walk again. So I said, Mom, what do we do? And Mom said, okay, are you ready to go to work? I said, let me talk to orthopedic surgeons first. So we met like 3-4 orthopedic surgeons, and they said, everybody was saying, we break the bones, we put screws and plates. Screws and plates is the iron, is a medical term for the iron that was used sometimes to be able to hold the legs together, because it was actually it was a multiple fracture. The tibia was broken in one place and my fibula in 2 places. So it was a multiple fracture. So they came and eventually we agreed, okay, surgery at Igbobi, the orthopedic hospital at Igbobi. I insisted on having epidural anesthetic because I wanted to see, in my mind I wanted to just be there. Before I walked into the theater, I told God, Lord, if you make me come out safe and alive and to be able to walk after 6 months of this last surgery the way the doctor said, that I will dance all the days of my life to you. Just make me walk perfectly again. After the surgery, 3rd month, 4th month, by the 4th month, I was like, 2 months to go, will I be able to walk again? Will I be able to walk again? I kept praying, we kept believing God. And gradually, I dropped 1 crutch. After a while, to walking stick, gradually, and just kept believing God, kept following the rules, taking the medications, going for my normal checkups. And one day, I felt, oh, this is the period. I should walk. And from the room to the bathroom, I started moving. And God did it. I started walking again. I want to thank God for all the people that surrounded me. The management of Chrisland Schools Limited. For the first 4 months, I was in between hospital and home. I was paid full salary. Even during the course of the 3 years, I was given a huge check as a support because that period, that was 2006, between 2006 to 2009. And it was huge for me also to have paid. When my husband put together, he kept receipts, he's very good in keeping all those stuff and all that. It's almost 3 million then, way back then. God has raised different helps. The organization I work for, that I work with, this is my 20th year there. I'm really forever grateful to the kind of people. I remember the head teacher that was then with me, Mrs Olumese. She will insist I come to the assembly. They will put a chair there, I will sit there. I participated in everything. I was not looked down on. I was working with children. I was happy, and that gave me the joy and to go on and believe that I'm a normal human being. I had friends, families. My in-laws were awesome. The brethren in the church, everybody kept praying and believing God for me. I remember an occasion we had after the incident, after I started working. The chairman of Chrisland Schools Limited, Mama, Chief Dr. Mrs Awoshika, OON, came and she just called me out. I didn't even know she knew my name. Not to talk of knowing that I had an accident, because I had more direct interaction with the managing director, Mrs. Io Adeyemi, and the director of administration, Mrs. Oye, who kept calling and kept encouraging me all the way around. She called and said, "Oh, Mrs. Adebolas, you have started working. I praise God for you." In front of the parents, and she was thanking God for my life. I felt so good. I was like, so this woman knows me, because I was just an educator then. I was not even a year tutor, not talk of a supervisor or anything. I was so excited. On this note, I'd like to conclude with just this word of wisdom to folks out there who are going through stuff and it seems God is silent. Psalm 34 verse 19 says, "Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them from it all." Some may be going through worse than I ever did. Some maybe not. God has a reason why He has allowed you to go through this. He is too faithful to fail you. He is too loving to leave you halfway. Just maintain your trust in God to the end. And at the end, you will smile